One Piece chapter 1038. Kid in Law versus Big Mom. Sure you guys have gotten used to seeing my face a lot, but for this one, you just get to hear the sound of my voice. So here's an illustration in the meantime. Yeah. The breakdown. You guys have probably also gotten used to a lot of collaborative breakdowns where I'm talking to somebody. This one is just me again. 2022, we're bringing those back. We're trying to collaborate a bit more in 2022, so maybe once a month we'll bring somebody on and we'll talk about the chapter based on the type of chapter that we have. So right now it's just me, okay? And in the breakdowns, if you guys forgotten, right? In case you forgot, this is when we go through the chapter and peel back every single layer that we can. So it may be a bit rambly, but you guys seem to like these when we just go and just nerd out about One Piece a little bit, right? So sit back, kick back, let's talk about the chapter and talk about every single part. I'm talking about every single thing, even our favorite fight in the series, Raizo versus Fukurokuju, okay? But let's start with the cover page. Neji and Yanji have been apprehended. Now, some people don't understand why I like this that much or as much. Well, it's because of consequence. When Jinbei showed up, the first thing I wanted to know was if Jinbei himself, was he hurt or was his crewmates hurt? I wanted somebody dead. And something we've been talking about, again, tension in Wano and tension in storytelling. And I've been reading and watching things recently in regards to that, just getting some more knowledge, so I'm not going into things blind and just being ignorant about things. A showrunner or a writer for a very popular TV show said they didn't want to write a certain story because they didn't feel like the stakes would match up the story because it would be a prequel and they felt like they could not incorporate enough stakes to make the tension or make the story interesting enough because you know they survive, right? For them, again, this is a different genre, but for them, or different demographic, but for them, they felt like stakes, they valued stakes because that's how you keep interest. That's how you pique the interest. And so for Wano, or in the specific instance, Neji and Yanji, it feels great. It's amazing to me because those are two sons of Germa that are now caught in Mont Door's book, which, you know, we've talked about his devil fruit abilities before and how broken they could be. And this is just an example of that. With this, you managed to capture the fastest Vinsmoke. So that's really cool. More than likely, Pudding helps them escape. That's what I'm thinking. Because Pudding, you know, she's probably thinking about Sanji and that, oh, these are his brothers, I have to help them like he helped me and my siblings. So I am really interested to see where this goes. Something I'm also interested in is whether or not you've hit that sub button yet, right? We've just gotten started. This is the cover page, the cover story. It's only going to get better from here, okay? So I suggest you strap in now by hitting the subscribe button and let's get to the chapter. Someone pointed out to me on my Instagram that I said in my prediction video, I would hate if the chapter was just about Raizo versus Fukurokuju and how Oda started out this chapter with Raizo versus Fukurokuju, and I'm just like, okay, Oda 100% watches the channel now. I know some people probably triggered now, Braga, you think I'm joking. Holy shit, calm down. Pull your spandex up a little bit, or I guess pull it down. Anyway, Raizo versus Fukurokuju, the castle interior, 3rd floor. They both have their paralysis jutsu on each other. And yes, I stated that this fight was a gag in comparison to the other fights, and I still feel that way, but there is symbolism within the fight, okay? And that was always there. It's really hard to be invested with this fight, especially in the manga, because the Scabbards are not well fleshed out characters in the manga. But this is Oda. I think this is a valiant attempt to establish some character for Raizo in particular. The reason being, do you guys remember when Raizo was over the pot of hot oil? While Oden was standing there, holding them up by himself, Raizo commented that he feels as though the heat alone was going to bake him alive, right? And that's when they said, Raizo, stop whining, okay? All we got to do is stand here. And so Raizo from that moment realized, okay, my complaining was much ado about nothing. Oden was actually in this boiling pot of hot oil holding us up. So right now in this chapter, this is Raizo showing his resolve, right? Showing that, hey, my master, my shogun, my daimyo, he went through much worse, right? This is nothing to me at this point. And I think it gives him maybe some pleasure to see Fukurokuju, because he betrayed them back then, stand in the face of death like he is, and he's panicking. And Raizo, for the most part, the resolve is showing. So there was a lot going on there. It's just, again, you got to look past Raizo versus Fukurokuju to get to it. I'm happy I was able to do that. We talk about tension. We talk about death. Jinbei was used to accentuate that by saying, saying, well, people are gonna burn, or rather burn to death. I guess it helps, doesn't curb the enthusiasm. No, it doesn't really help how I feel about the tension in the arc, because fodder are dying. That's their goal, I guess. But again, I don't think we should harp on this because we don't know where the arc is going. I think we still have a considerable amount of arc left, and there are a lot of opportunities for people to perish or die, and Oda typically nails actual deaths. So the only death I can think of that I was like, what the hell is Bobbin? Because Bobbin just died, because I have no idea why, but he's dead. I don't know, man. My guy Bobbin, RIP. So Oda typically for deaths, I think there will be, no, I know there will be someone significant that dies this arc. We just gotta wait. It is fair to criticize the arc so far, but we can't come to a conclusion because the arc hasn't come to its conclusion. But let's move on a little bit. Chopper is back to normal. He kind of transitioned us to Zoro and the effects, I think, of the pill. In my opinion, the most interesting thing in the chapter. I made an extensive video on my thoughts about what this could be, but just to get into it shortly here, you guys can check out the video below if you want my extensive thoughts. But really quickly, the popular opinion that it is Brook. I think that would be a bit underwhelming, no, a lot underwhelming, but I think this is Zoro in the face of death, right? I think he is actually at a place, and this is from his perspective, his subconscious, whatever, having to overcome death. Yes, it looks like Brook because Brook is already dead. Yo ho ho. I did go a bit deeper in regards to how Enma could be involved, or even Doc Q, but also Yukimaru. So it's a lot of stuff that could be going on here. Again, the popular opinion is that Zoro's in the face of death, and this is something he would have to overcome in regards to unlocking Enma, or something simple as surviving, right? He has to overcome this Grim Reaper to live because of how much the effects of the pills it's having on him. So that's the popular thing. We go more in depth. Link in the description down below. After you watch this video, just click that so you can continue your One Piece chapter 1038 experience. Izo. I saw a lot of clamor about Izo's character this chapter. It is decent. This chapter at least is going not out of his way, but establishing these characters a bit more. Characters in One Piece typically are what they are, mostly static, but Oda is definitely developing or somewhat building more characterization for some of these characters. So for Izo, we felt like he was just there because he was in the flashback, right? He was a part of them. The motivations, all that felt a bit shallow. Now things are ramping up and the stakes are getting a bit higher. Izo is stepping up. Izo, in my opinion, was always this character that showed that he cared about others and would sacrifice himself for others. We saw how he jumped out for Oden when he went to follow Whitebeard. So that's the type of person that he is. How he's been saving Marco, looking out for Marco. He's a genuine person. But here it's adding to that and showing that he cares about more than himself. He really cares about the Scabbards, even though the timeline would suggest that he does not, because he didn't return to Wano one time even after hearing about Kaido. But he's willing to sacrifice himself here in the face of Cypher, Pole Aegis, Zero, and I did enjoy this moment. You know, Izo, in regards to aesthetic, is one of those characters that you appreciate, and demeanor, right? That archetype I enjoy. So Izo stepping up in this way, I liked it. Cypher, Pole, them not wanting to engage, I think it's a few things. One, X-Drake. They fought X-Drake. It was like, okay, that's a deterrent that we didn't want to deal with. But their main goal is Nico Robin. So they would like to avoid as much confrontation as possible because they want to achieve their goal. But also, let's be honest, Izo is not the threat of the Straw Hats or even close to what Nico Robin is. So it makes sense for them to say, okay, let's talk about this later. But Izo stopping them, it's accentuating again the type of person that he is, that he's always been, in my opinion. Yamato and Kazembo, I wonder where the number is. Fuga. Because for the most part, he was following her. Now she's trying to prevent all these things from detonating. We did figure that she would use her ice powers, so that was pretty obvious. But now she's in an all-out battle with this Kazembo. Not sure how this is gonna go for Yamato. It's interesting. I wonder if she knows its connection to Kanjuro. But yeah, she's trying to prevent all this from detonating, because if it does, then it all goes up in smoke, literally and figuratively. Then she's trying to help as much as she can because Momonosuke, she's aiding him. I do wish that transition was a bit better, because Izo went from saying, hey, Momonosuke, I won't leave your side, to Momonosuke, I gotta go to stop this from happening just in case. But this was always necessary, but I don't think it was, I guess, explained as necessary. But I guess all in all, it does work out. The final part of the chapter, on the live floor, we have Kid and Law versus Big Mom. So Big Mom, as we expected, is dominating. And at the beginning, it seemed like Kid and Law, like they were done. Big Mom, she's panting heavily though. So actually, for who she is, they're doing a fantastic job, I think. But it seemed like it was over. Big Mom is using different attacks from Hera to attack the subordinates of these crews, which I don't value value these crews at all, but she doesn't attack them again. I guess, again, she assumed they were done. Now, something she said that was interesting is Kaido has a victory cry, you know, something that he does when he wins. I'm interested in the victory cry, and this is somewhat telling me that we will see Kaido's victory cry at some point, but probably in a flashback, right? So Big Mom, you know, again, they spend a lot of time together. They were on the same crew back in the day, so she knows a victory cry that Kaido has. But I like that she was done playing with her food and she's like, all right, let me go help Kaido so that he can finish up quickly, right? Seems like they were just playing around, because as soon as Big Mom leaves, Law does Kroom. Now, Kroom, it's a very interesting ability, because Law's sword did extend like Ichimaru Gin, and I would like to know the logistics of how Shock really works, because it is devastating Big Mom. It is one of the most subtle, devastating attacks we have in One Piece. It reminds me of Ersta's Shock. Doesn't have necessarily the same setup time, but it's so subtle. Like Law said, you barely feel a prick, and then look at Big Mom. Look at the reaction to this attack. It is insane. Now, the controversy around this chapter was with Eustace Captain Kid, and we will talk about Kid extensively this week because he's become somewhat of an enigma, or everything surrounding him is an enigma, because people are just like, okay, what's going on here? Well, I'll say this. The reason why people, no matter what Kid does, it does not seem like it's good enough, right? It seems like people are just downing Kid, saying he's trash, even though it's clear that his attacks are doing things to the Yonko. Even Kid's speech, people are saying it's corny. It doesn't come off the same because Kid has not done most of the things that he set out to do, and it seems like he's all talk and no action. Okay, so I agree. Kid's devil fruit usage is underwhelming, right? It's not what we expected, but I think that's because of our expectations, but that's also based on Oda. What I mean is Oda set up devil fruit powers in a way that they're some of the more amazing fruits in a series. But we also saw what Oda was able to do with underwhelming powers, underwhelming abilities, and make them an OP fruit. But this just shows Oda's creativity even within that overpowered devil fruit, right? Super creative. Mass, counter shock, injection shot, radio knife. You can start with Doflamingo with overheat, parasite string, the 16 holy bullets, athlete's foot. It's so many different things that these people had. Doflamingo could create a clone from string. And for Kid, he just like creating metal origami. He's just using more metal objects to hit people with. So you cannot get mad at people for being a bit underwhelmed when you have a power and you just basically a mechanic, right? We know that's what Kid is. People say Kid is based off of something to do with a bull. I don't know. I didn't look into it, but I'll say this. He's deserving of criticism, but not what he's been getting. But I think it is fair to say how Kid uses his devil fruit is underwhelming. It is not creative. It is him just making more metal. There's so many ways. And again, Magneto did spoil us, and we're like, well, this is One Piece. It's not sure, but One Piece has shown to be one of the more, if not the next to JoJo, I think. Based on what I've seen of JoJo, JoJo is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It is insane. Now, this beautiful bull, and then there's a bit of suspension of disbelief, because it's like you're trying to tell me that Kaido falling from Sky Island, Kid hits harder than that, right? And for Big Mom, her iron balloon, Kid is breaking through that just by accumulating more metal. Of course, the hockey thing, it's hard to say whether or not it's hockey. Seems to be, I don't know, but it's weird, because Kid was even asking the question that, hey, Kaido can be hurt by physical attacks. It seems like he wasn't aware of that, you know? So it's like now to see where things are going, where he's just still using physical attacks. I understand why people are upset. Again, it's not as bad as people are saying. You expected a bit more, but that's off of our expectations. But the expectations were created somewhere, and that's off of how Oda has done less impressive devil fruits in the past. And one with so much potential, it is basically flopping in regards to utilization and how we believe. Again, people are gonna ask you, okay, so what do you want him to do? I'm not gonna say that, because there's no way I could have foresaw Luffy turning the Gomu Gomu no Mi into what it is now, or even Dofi using the string fruit, right? No way I could have foresaw any of those things. So I know it's possible, right? I know it can be better. Again, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I would be lying if I didn't tell you that I wasn't underwhelmed. But yeah, Kid and Law, it seems like they've heard Big Mom again, and Oda's using Kid to tell us that the Yonko are not as invincible as you guys think. People are gonna say I'm pushing my Admiral agenda again. Well, you know, if Big Mom is getting hurt by scrap metal, I really wonder what the devil fruit with the highest offensive power in the series, confirmed by Oda, would do to her. And again, she is somebody that she's so vulnerable to open hits time and time again. Amen. Clifford don't play. But nah, enough of that. But they have always been about stalling Big Mom, but it's just, I'm gonna give Law credit here, because Law has been fantastic. I gotta talk about Law this week as well. Law deserves a video. It's been a while since I made a Law video, so we're gonna talk about Law and about Dressrosa, because that's another thing that we gotta talk about. But yeah, give me your thoughts, guys. How do you feel about the chapter? Pretty good chapter. To my patrons, I appreciate you guys all so much. Again, guys, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Peace.
I start doubting me, I felt lost. I rewrite it.